down by Liga's Bar. It's the old tin building that's close to the water. You'll see pictures of it coming up. This picture here is part of Old Pearl Beach. I'm not sure which direction it goes from Pearl Beach Boulevard. I was told it was east, but other people have told me it's west. So this is some of the old places that were there. Pearl Beach back in the early day had a fire, burned down a lot of the cottages all at one time. This is my mom and dad's house where I was raised on the water. It was right between the two streets on the water in Pearl Beach. My bedroom was over there. This is a picture of one of the boats that exploded that my dad repaired. This boat belonged to Paul Sears, the man that owned the Ice House Tavern down on the flats. He got in it one day and he hit the starter and she went boom. He ended up 30 feet over in the yard. That boat was rebuilt in the backyard of our house. It wasn't rebuilt at the shop. The shop hadn't been built then. That's another boat that was done in the backyard, repaired for something, I don't know what. I was pretty small back then.
Who is that?
That's me and my cousin Frankie. Chartier.
No, it's Glen Rank.
That's Glen Rank.
It's Glenny.
Oh, it's Glen Rank.
Okay.
Close enough.
We used to live right next door to one another. This is a picture of the boat shop from the front
Thanks, Papa.
before the cement slab was put out toward the seawall. That's my Uncle Grant and my dad and my uncle's fishing launch. It was a one-lunger fishing launch that they used back in the old days. A lot of fish caught with that. This is the same boat with my mom and me. I'm not sure who that is.
Probably Papa.
If it's Grant or my dad. Looks like my uncle.
No.
There's my dad working on the boat at the boat shop. This is a picture of Paulie Sears' boat after it was finished. It was like brand new after it was rebuilt. This is the first boat that my dad ever built. It was a 20-foot sedan, and it was built in the backyard of our house in the old garage before the shop was built. Some more pictures of the same boat.
No.
You can tell how old it is because the numbers.
You know where the marina is next to Johnny Vegas?
That's about yes, mid-40s, early 40s.
43.
Okay.
Did it?
The marina next to the boat dock. That was my Papa.
There's the boat shop. This picture was taken from the public dock, and that's the metal building that's still there, but it's fallen down pretty badly now. And some of the boats that were there. This boat, or a boat that looks just like it, was owned by a man by the name of Mr. Hibbard.
Oh, yeah.
He'd never had any boat work done before, but he owned this 21-foot sedan, and he wanted it rebuilt, or refinished. So we brought it to my dad's boat shop. My dad took it inside, and if any of you know what a strip boat looks like, they look bad. Well, he got it all stripped down, he took the cabin off and he put it aside, set it on sawhorses, and every time he walked by it, he'd grab canvas and tear it up. Anytime he walked around it. So it got pretty shabby looking. Mr. Hibbard came up one day during the winter, and he says, "I'd like to see my boat." My dad says to him, he says, "You're looking at it." So my dad went on about his business. All of a sudden, Mr. Hibbard was gone. He said, "Uh-oh, he knows what's going on." So that spring, my dad called him up and said, "Hey, your boat's ready, it's in the water." And he put it, Mr. Hibbert said, oh, okay, I'll come up and see it some of these days. He wasn't in any rush. So he came up, finally he came up and he saw it, and he walked around that boat for 20 minutes, just looking at it. From that day on, there was nobody that could touch anything of Mr. Hibbert's, including his boathouse and the 2 cottages down on the flats at the end of the Fisher Channel. My dad ended up raising both buildings and built a boathouse, put seawalls and everything else around that island with the help of Larry's dad, Uncle Lawrence. But they were the only 2 that could ever touch anything from Mr. Hibbert after that. This is Uncle Lawrence's pile driver here, and that's the barge they used to use. And this is a sheet metal that was put around the public dock back in the early 50s. That's still there. That's still there. You notice the big building is not here, and that little building there used to be a hardware. Walt Williams had a hardware in there. Later on it became a home. Now it's gone. This is a Kingfisher number 1. It's an 18-foot runabout with a 95 Craft in it, built out of western red cedar. And if you'll notice, there's light colored covering boards. Those are cedar strips. My dad used that to make the covering boards around it. Later on, the second boat, just like this one, was built, and he put mahogany on the covering boards because the cedar strips turned black after about 2 years' time. And he ended up taking them off of this one and rebuilding all of that out of mahogany. Those boats were really fast. 18-foot boat going down the river, when it loses its rooster tail, it's moving. That one did it. Both of them did it. My dad also built 2 22-foot sedan cruisers, a 26-foot sedan cruiser, a 28-foot semi-enclosed with a single screw, and a 28-foot twin screw for Paula's grandfather, Gordon Sears. He used it for fishing charters on the flats for many, many years. It was only destroyed sometime in the 80s. There's a side view. It's 2-tone blue, real light blue and a baby blue. Another picture. Some of these pictures, if you notice the dark covering board, that would be a picture of the boat number 2. The first boat was put in the Detroit Boat Show in 1950 at the old convention center in Detroit. Hopefully to sell a few. He had a lot of inquiries, but no sales. There's the group of one of the owners that was in the boat coming into the dock one day. That's Glenn Rank's house. That's still there. My house, that's still there. George Burgess's grandfather's old house is right here, I believe.
Yeah, but there's Hollins after your house.
This is Hollins, that's Leacheyes, that's,
Yeah, Mrs. Williams, and then my grandfather's house.
Yeah.
And then, probably Houghton back then instead of Holzhauer.
Houghton's was here,
Yeah,
and the canal is over here.
Proving Drain Ditch.
So you're on the east side of the boat shop. Some of these docks are still here, there's other docks in there too besides. Not all of them are there. There's a picture of that boat with all the people in it. There's a picture of Mr. Hibbard's boat. That's the boat shop from our front yard looking west. My dad used to store all the boats on this side of the boat shop and in the back lot where the hardware used to be and the big building is now. There's a picture of her running down the river. I don't know what naval architect he used, but whoever it was, that boat used to lay down and go like crazy. He later put a semi-enclosed cabin on the first one. He had 51 Mercury windows on the side to make it look like a semi-enclosed, and used the frames off the car to put them in. 1956. That's right out here. Right out here by the park,
And you wonder what
right in front of the gazebo.
we jumped.
We had big ice that year. Police came out there and chased about 50 kids off of that thing during lunch hour.
That may have been me up there.
It's possible.
I tried to find it, Larry, but it just didn't blow up good. I was watching you though, I made sure you did it
There was
right.
a lot of kids that were on that, I know that. Even I went on it. This is a picture of my dad's later business. This crane and this scow, he bought from Andy High Street, and he operated it until 1965. That picture is on the spillway at the 16-mile bridge. They're putting a pipe across the spillway. These are the pipes. And he was the only one handy that had a scow that could do it at the time. This one here is a picture of the Memorial Marina just east of the Whittier Hotel. My dad, S&S Marine, and Buckman Brothers went together and made a bid on putting the pier out there. That's the first section of the pier. That's still there, I believe. They extended it several years later.
What's that big building?
That's the Whittier Hotel,
Pardon me?
the Whittier Hotel in Detroit, right next to Memorial Park. That duck boat you see back there, the dark green one,
That's Kirk.
that's it.
I think
That's,
so.
that's Kirk and my Uncle Maynard on the canal
That's right at our house.
by Shirley Hamlin's
Right
old
behind you?
house.
That's a great, yeah, that's a great, yeah.
Uncle Maynard used to punt that canal almost every day, and in the fall of the year, he'd trap it and everything else.
Yeah.
That's behind your son's house.
Know her?
Can't hear me.
Some of you older people might.
Miss Shirley.
That's Shirley Hamlin's.
Wait, she was really live across the
This
street.
is the new crane my dad bought in '57.
That's by our house.
And they brought it from Cupperson's. They carried it all the way around across the back of the Pearl Beach and brought it over to just behind Shirley's house, which is right across the street from my home right now. And they were gonna clean the canal out and fill in on Maynard's side of the canal. It's all houses now. That's what they did. And Shirley, my dad coaxed Shirley up in there, make it look like she's operating the crane.
She probably really would.
Bill,
The,
Bill, do you know what year they cleaned out the drain ditch?
this year,
No, what year was it when they cleaned out the drain ditch?
it was while I was overseas.
Oh,
I was
60.
overseas between 67 and 65 and 67, so they did it between those 2 years.
No, I ain't
This was done before that.
Yeah.
There's some of the canal.
Is that what they were doing there?
No, this is, my dad just did Uncle Maynard's side.
Oh, okay.
He filled all that in where Ian's house is and all that out there, all the way over to Pete's. All the way over to
That's
Pete
why that's all high
Avers's.
back.
Huh?
That's why that's all high back.
That's
Uncle
why
Ian's
it's
roof.
higher, yes.
Yeah.
That's the garage. In my garage.
I took a picture of it.
There's one of the Chris Craft kit boats that my dad copied. My dad copied several kit boats and a lot of duck boats and a lot of prams and several dinghies over the years. When you're in business from early 40s until 55, you do quite a lot of small boats. That's a steel boat my dad built for a towboat for the scow that he built in the old Washette over here by the city water department.
State Street.
Yeah, State Street. And that boat was so big, they had to take 3/4 of an inch off the door to get it out. Just 3/4 inch trim. It had to come out kind of on an angle, and they got her out. She's still afloat. Weber on Hudson's Island owns it. He owns the whole rig now. And that boat, he still uses that boat for a towboat. There she is there. Those are my mother's colors. My mom said, "You can't paint that gray."
That's next door.
He didn't.
They tore it down.
Smart move.
It was a smart move.
Yeah, that
This
looks
is
familiar.
a runabout I have hanging in my garage that you're probably gonna see up here this summer. My dad built it for my son. My
Your
dad
son
built
says
it
it's
for my
his.
son Ian. That's a 10-footer,
Hey, we had that canoe.
full race boat.
We don't have that canoe here.
He had a Mark 20H on it at one time. That's a boat similar to the one I have. You notice the back cockpit, that seat faces backwards.
Got hatches in it.
I have a boat just like that.
That one's got hatches.
This picture was taken in Hessel.
That's the boathouse.
That's over at Pete Hinkle's when my
That's
dad was
St. Clair Flat?
redoing the boat that you'll see in a little while.
That's the marina that you go by on the island.
What marina?
That's,
Uncle Ian could tell you.
that's a boat that my dad and Pete Hinkle built in the garage down in Florida
Is it?
over the winter one time.
Is that Papa? Well,
That's a-
okay, forget it.
That's a 16-footer fish trap.
Oh, yeah, it is down before.
That's in Papa's garage, isn't it?
I don't know.
Hey, there's me.
I don't really know. It depends on the boat.
Uh-huh.
Depends on the boat.
In Mom's worry.
They used to do things pretty quick.
I don't know.
My dad was kind of a slave driver. So was Larry's dad. That's a little tram that you sit out here, that my dad built for Ian too.
That's on Harson's Island.
That's at Pete's?
Yeah.
There's Uncle Ian.
In the canal before the motor caught fire.
No wonder who eyebrows got lost on that
He
one.
poured gas in it one day and he started it up too quick and the motor caught fire and burned the motor up.
And David and Ian jumped.
Yep.
Here's a picture. This is a picture of a 26-foot Dodge water car that my dad rebuilt from scrap in the garage that I
It wasn't a
have
single piece
behind
of
my
wood
house.
in it.
He took a skill saw and cut every frame out. Full length of the boat,
You can tell.
saved the stem. It wasn't savable to use, but he had to save it for pattern. And that's the only part of the boat that was left, was 14 ounces of the stem. And it went from one end of the garage to the other. You could just barely get around it. That's her upside down. Another picture.
No. Mm-mm.
There she is there. Got the Dexel on it there.
Yeah, that was 87.
I still have these. I use them for my boat.
Graduated?
You'll see my boat in a little
It
while.
wasn't in there for graduation.
That was
That's
across the
Dad and
street.
Emerson
That's right.
working over at Pete Hinkle's, repairing a boat over there.
I lived this.
They worked together over there for quite a
I want
few
to pay
years,
attention.
repairing boats. Yeah, Emerson Schaefer.
I don't know.
They were pretty good friends. Here's another picture of the shop over
Look
there.
at those abs.
Look at there he is.
Emerson Simpson, if you got him
That's
good
my
and wet,
papa.
he'd weigh 100 pounds. He was a little guy, but he knew his wood. He was a good worker. That's not
Oh,
a very
that's-
good picture. That's a
that's your
picture of my boat.
That is that's Granny and Papa's.
There's more pictures. That's my boat after we brought it home and used it one year. There's
There it
mine.
is.
It's
This
his
is
boat
an
there.
18-foot,
Look at the old truck.
1938 Chris Craft Sportsman.
19 foot.
The rear seat
He can't hear
faces
you.
backwards. They built this boat halfway through 37, all through 38, and halfway through 39, and they gave up on it. It was one of Mac McCur's dreams to make this boat be a good fishing boat. It was, because you could control it from the rear if you had the equipment to put the gear shift and stuff at the back. That it?
That's it.
Oh, that's it?
That's it?
Oh, incidentally, my dad fell overboard of that boat in 1988